We're on the bottom of Kuf Gimel Amud Beis. 3 lines from the bottom. Hamrav Yechon Mishum Yosi ben Kism. Gedel Legima Shechik, the mitzvah of being machnes eirech, as well as the einish for not being machnes eirech, or not being hospitable, that has these following consequences. It sent away, it divorced 2 nations from Klal Yisrael. It says about Ammon and Moav that they were, we stay away from them. We don't accept them as Gerim because they refused to allow us to go when we left Mitzrayim. We're going into Eretz Yisrael. It brings those who are far, will be makar of them if one is machnes eirich properly, and someone who is not is mekarves harchaikim. Uma'al me'ena min harishayim. A rasha will get a second chance if he shows this, he has this midah. Mishra shchina al nevi'ei habal. It will even cause a navi to get. It doesn't mean hashra. It doesn't mean that we usually think of hashra as shchina as a holy thing. This means that they'll be get nevuah. They'll get the kayach of nevuah by doing this mitzvah. If someone who mistakenly is not hospitable, it'll be treated as if he did it on purpose. So we're going to go through this one at a time. Like we saw about Ammon and Moav, that they were originally close to Eretz Yisrael, and they were kicked out. We kept ourselves, we made ourselves separate from them. When Kareva says, will bring those who are far near from Yisroi. For the fact that Yisroi told his daughters to bring Moshe to him, and will give him food to eat. Zachub nebanav v'yashru b'lishkas hagazes. He was zeicha that his sons would sit in Sanhedrin. They would eventually join the Sanhedrin, which is interesting. It's not. You'd think that this chus would be that he got such a chashav edim, but no. The only thing that's really counted is his own sons. He was Megayer, and his sons who eventually became were on the Sanhedrin. Shenema mishpachas Seifrim, the mishpachas of the Seifrim, the Talmidei Chacham, Yoshvei Yavetz, Taratim. These are the names. Shematayim, Seichatim, Hema Hakinim. These are the Kinim Habayim. Mechamas Avi Beis Rechav. From Chamas, the father, Beis Rechav. Ksiv Hasam. What is this? Hakinim. Ubnei Kini Chaysim Moshe. The children of Keni, who was the Chaysim Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe, which is Yisroi. Alo Meir Hatmarim. They came from the city of the dates. In Bnei Yehuda, Midbar Yehuda. They came from the Bnei Yehuda, from the Midbar Yehuda, Asher ben Negev, which is in the south. Arach Vayelech, Vayelech Vayashav Esa'am. They came and they went and they sat together with the Yam. So these are the descendants of Yisrael, and they were the ones who sat in the Sanhedrin, the kingdom that we said was Yoshev in the Sanhedrin. Umashra Shchina al Nevi'ei Habal. What is it? Where is the example that the Rebbe Shalom allows Goyish and Nevi'im?
You skip.
I'm sorry. You're right. I skipped a line. The Rebbe Shalom will overlook what a Rasha does. Micha. This is what we just saw before about Micha, that since he was open, he provided food to other people. Therefore, the Rebbe Shalom did not put him with the list of people who lost their chelik of Haylam Haba. And he causes Nevi'im of Baal, of Avodah Zarah, to be able to get Nevuah. We had this story, the friends of Edoi, Hanavi, they were sitting by the table, and the Rebbe Shalom spoke to Navi Asher Yeshiva. This is the story that we saw by Edoi, that he was punished for he made a shvua that he had a nevuah that he shouldn't stop and eat, he should go straight back with his message. And instead, he got a nevuah, a false nevuah, that told him that he should stop and eat from a Navi Sheker, and he stopped. And these Nevi'im actually got a nevuah to go to him. They got a real nevuah. He got an actual nevuah that he should he told Idoi that he's going to get punished. He's going to end up dying for disregarding the original nevuah that he had. In any case, that Navi he got an actual nevuah, and it was because he provided food to Idoi. B'shiggas oila zaden, and the shkaga becomes a zaden. The Amar Rav Yidam El Mala Hilveh Yonasan LeDavid Shtei Kikaros Lechem. Had Yonasan lent David, had he given him 2 loaves of bread, like Neherga Noivir Akayanim, then David wouldn't have been hungry, and he wouldn't have had to go to Noivir Akayanim, and they wouldn't have been treated as traitors by Shaul and all been killed out. Nitra Dayaga Hadaimi, and Dayaga Hadaimi was the one who did this. He wouldn't have gotten involved. Nereg Shaul Shloisha, and Shaul and his 3 sons all died because of this failure on Yonasan's part, which was Mishagi. It's not he didn't think of it, but because of that, he got such a terrible punishment. So many bad things came out of it because he wasn't concerned about his friend. Now going back to our general topic, we're talking about the people who lost their chelik in Olam Haba. We're talking about the different kings. Achaz was also a Rasha, and he wasn't included. So why wasn't he included? Since his father Yosem was a tzaddik as well as his son Chizkiyahu, therefore he himself was not. There must have had something good about him. Because he was embarrassed about his evil deeds when he was faced up with Yoshiyahu. The Mersham said to Yoshiyahu, go out to Achaz, Ata v'she'er Yashuv, Banecha, and your son She'er Yashuv. El K'tzei Talas HaBircha, at the edge of the water, Hal Yaina, that's the upper water, Al-Masila Sada, on the path by the field, Kaivis. Kaivis. The Gemara doesn't say, what does Kaivis mean? My Kaivis? Igdami de Kafshinu La'ape B'cholaf. One shot is that he turned his head away so that Achaz turned his head away from Yoshiyahu, so he shouldn't be embarrassed. That he covered his head with like a sieve so that Yoshiyahu shouldn't see him and he shouldn't be embarrassed. So for the fact that he knew he did something wrong, that's why he wasn't put in those who lose their chelik in Olam Haba. Another king of a Russia, because of the covet of his son Yoshiyahu. Menashe nami lo'imni k'vodesh Chizkiyahu. For the Gemara, why does Menashe lose his chelik in Olam Haba? Let him be allowed to go to Olam Haba because the covet of his father of Chizkiyahu. It's like the Gemara, bra mizaki abba le mizaki bra. A son can provide chusim for his father can't for his son. As we all know, a father cares much more about his son than a son cares about his father. So, the son can't then go and say, I'm getting this chusim of him if someone who he doesn't care about as much. But a father is always concerned, he wants his son, has influence on his son, so his son's chusim go back to him. Nothing will save. Ein Avram matzel is Yishmael. Therefore, Avram's chusim are not going to help Yishmael. It's Yitzchak, and Yitzchak matzel is Esav, and the chusim of Yitzchak matzel Esav. It's like the Gemara, Hashta'achia Achaz nami le'imni mishum k'vodesh Chizkiyahu. Now we can say Achaz, even according we said one shot that it was because he had both a father and a son, and the other one is because of his baishas. Now we could say since he had a son, that could also be the reason why he didn't lose his Olam Haba. Sagt tomorrow, why wasn't Yehoyakim included? It says about the skull of Yehoyakim. We had this before a couple of weeks ago. This and more. He got a special gzeira on him that he wasn't going to get buried properly, and that schus of these yisurim allowed him not to lose his olam haba. We have a story about this. She found a skull that was sitting by the gates of Yerushalayim. And it said in Zayis V'Oid Acheres, it was the skull of Yehoyakim. Kivra v'lo ikvara. Kivra v'lo ikvara. She kept on trying to, this Zakin, this grandfather of Rav Preda, kept on trying to bury it, and it would keep on coming to the surface. Amma, Lil Galasa Shal Yakim. This must be the famous skull of Yehoyakim, that it says on it, Puras Chamar Yikvar. He's going to get the burial of a chamar, meaning a not very kavadik of a burial. It's going to be dug up and thrown around. Amar Malkahu. He said, however, he's a king. It's not proper to just throw it in the garbage. So he wrapped it in a cloth and a silk, and he put it away in a box. Chazisa Devisu, his wife, came across it, obviously. 5 minutes, she was Pesach cleaning. Now this is going to come back to you. This part you're going to remember. So the wife thought, oh, this must be his first wife. He hasn't forgotten her. It sounds like a very macabre story. Like the new wife was jealous that she thought he kept the skull, which just goes to show you, jealousy knows no reason or rationality. You think he kept the skull because he has fond memories of her. Shagra tanur v'kolsa. She threw it in the oven and burnt the skull. This is that he's going to get buried. He's going to get a horrible burial, and then it's not going to be over. And then it's going to be dragged around, and it's going to be taken out and burned in the end because of a jealous spat. Tanya Rav Shimon Elazar. B'shvil hatoiv be'einecha asisi ma ois. Because who was this again? Chizkiyo. Chizkiyo said the word zois. He said, what should we call it? He said, that I did good by Hashem. Rashi says, whoever can say I did the right thing? That was a gaiva on his part. So because he did that gaiva, he came to the next level that he asked the Rebbeinu Shalom for an ois. Ma ois. Then that brought him to the next level. B'shvil ma'ois. Then he said ma'ois. Nachem achul al shulchanai. Then he was nichnas to another level of oven that he allowed Goyim to eat by his table. He invited Goyim to be his guests. B'shvil shenachem achul al shulchanai. Garam galus l'banav. He caused his children to go into galus. Masayeh l'chizkiya. And this is a riot to Chizkiya. The Amar Chizkiya. Kol ha'mizamen oiv kechavnu teich beisai. Anyone who invites a guy into his house, and he treats him like an honored guest, Garam Galus Labanov, he'll cause his children to go into Galus. Shenamar, this is by, who was this by? I guess this was also by Chizkiah, that the Melech Chizkiah, that when he had that whole story where they sent messengers to him and they brought a message after he got sick and he was cured, and they saw that the weather changed out in Bavel, they came to congratulate him. So those messengers that he sent, he brought into his house. So he got a nevuah that your children are going to end up being servants in the king of Bavel, because for this same aver. And the pasuk says, "Vayismach aleim Chizkiah." Chizkiah was mesamech with these messengers. Vayirim beis nechta. They show that yes, kol bayis nechta. The Gemara is going to explain what nechta is: as a kesef, as a zav, as a psamim, all the silver and the gold and the spices, as a shemen and the oil hatoiv. Amar of my beis nechta. What is this beis nechta? Ishtay hashkasa aleim. It means that his wife, Bayis, Ishte Karabayis, she gave them to drink. She served them. He showed them his treasure house. Rabbi Yochanan Omer, Zayin Eichel Zayin Herlan. He showed them his state-of-the-art weaponry, that his weapons that could destroy other weapons. Now the Gemara is going to go. Oh, it's pretty late. We started 8:40. Oh, you want to go? Let's go to the end. This is a different topic. We'll go a couple of minutes. This is Eicha. Well, this is something you'll want to remember when we get to Tisha B'Av. Eicha Yashva Bedad. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Yochanan. Ma Laku Yisrael Be'Eicha. Why was Eicha the first word of the Megillah about the Galus, the Avelis of Beis HaMikdash? They violated the 36 krisis, the things 36 averis that a person gets karas for, and they were over on them. So therefore, started with Eicha, which is Gematria 36. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Neima Loku Ba'alef Beis. Why is Eicha in each pasuk, each line starts with the next letter of the Aleph Beis? Because they were over on the Torah, which is given in the Aleph Beis. So we continue with the pasuk Yashva Bedad. They were sitting alone. Amar Rava, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. I said the Yidden should sit by themselves securely. Ein Yaakov al Eretz Dagam v'Tzirish, but underneath Yaakov with the Eretz full of wheat and wine. Af Shem of Yarfu Tal. The skies will bring down dew. So it was supposed to be great. They're going to be sitting by themselves in mourning. Ha'ir Ravasiyam, the year that was increasing the nation. Amar Rav Amar B'Yechan, may see in Katana L'Gadol L'Gdol L'Katan. At the times when things were good, the Yidden would marry a young girl to an older man and an older girl to a younger man. The cheshbon was that you get two older parents or two younger parents, they're not so likely to be misaber. So by matching up the older with the younger, that way you'll increase the total amount of children born. I'm not sure. It sounds just as suspicious as the demographic reason given for the shidduch crisis. Sounds very hard to understand how this works. Haisika almana. This continuation of Eicha, like an almana, but not an actual almana. A woman who's left in Aguna without a husband, she doesn't know if he's going to come back. Ravasi ba'goyim, sarasi ba'medinos. You were great by the goyim, and you were the lords in those other nations. Wherever they go, they become like the viziers. They always become the prime minister, the head of treasury. Like this has been throughout history. There's always been Yidden at the top levels of government. You want to listen here? It's interesting Maisa. You got another couple of minutes. There were two Yidden. This is like a Sherlock Holmes story, that were taken captive in Har HaKarmel. And the guy who caught them was standing behind them. They were walking along, and one said to his friend, they said there's a gamal who's walking ahead of us. They couldn't see the gamal, but they said we can make a bunch of deductions about it. This gamal is missing, it's blind in one eye. He's carrying two bottles, one holding wine and one holding shemen. Two people who are bringing him, one is a Yid and one is a guy. Amal and Shavoy, the captor, the guy who caught them, asked him, he said, you're so stubborn, you Yid, and you stick with your being smart no matter what we do to you. How do you know all this? You can't even see this gomel that's in front of you. How do you know this? We see that as we walk, the grass is only eaten on one side of the road. So that's the side that the gomel could see. You can't see on the other side. Utunishte noidis achal shel yain v'achal shel shemen shel yain metafta v'shoikeya. Shel shemen metafta itself. Wine gets absorbed in the ground, and shemen is on top. We see it's part of the ground is soaked into the ground, and part of it is it's wet on top of the ground. So that's one is in wine and one is shemen. Ushnei bnei adam hanhigin v'yisa echad nachi v'echad Yisrael. Nachi nifnei l'derech v'Yisrael nifnei l'tzdadim. A guy doesn't bother to pull off to the side of the road. He just relieves himself on the road, so we see his waist, and the guy, Yid is all the way on this side. Rodef achareim, so the guy went to check if they were right. Umatzak edivreim, and he found they were right. Bav and Ashkan al Roshan, he went and kissed him on the head. Ve'vian lebeison, he brought him to the house. Basal and Suda Gedel, he made a big Suda Nevah miracle of name. He danced and he said, "V'amar Baruch Shabacha Bezari Shel Avram." Baruch the bench of the Bensham that gave to his children, V'nasan lehem mechachmasai, and he gave from them from his chachma that they also that they remain smart. And now this captor also said, that's why they become big shots wherever you go. He released them and let them go home. He was so impressed with the story, he let them go home in peace. Okay, we'll stop over here. It's mamish like isn't that like a Sherlock Holmes story? Like make these deductions based on observing details?
Pretty interesting.
I know it.
Thank you. Have a great night.